Can you imagine waking up to a leukemia diagnosis and with overwhelming joy pouring from your heart, thanking God for the wonderful privilege to be sick with a terminal disease? I believe this is the most unrealistic scene I could think of. But I do know that my brother can't imagine waking up to a leukemia diagnosis because he did. Now, I won't try to sugarcoat the whole situation because cancer is probably one of the least sugarcoatable topics out there. And there's nothing sweet about it except for its source. The sweetest, kindest, most loving and powerful source there is. God. And now, you might be thinking I'm mistaken because there is no possible way God would create such evil thing. To which I respond he did, and he made sure to bless my family with it. As the sister of a cancer survivor and as a PTSD survivor, I can testify that there's no greater blessing than hardship. Today, I'm going to share my experience of how I was blessed abundantly by leukemia. My brother Stefan was diagnosed with ALL, acute lymphoblastic leukemia, 7 years ago. On another summer night, screams of excruciating pain filled my house's air as my mother, my sister, and I were watching Justin Timberlake dance to Single Ladies on YouTube. The last thing I remember is saying goodbye to my parents as they boarded an emergency plane to Houston, Texas with my 14-year-old dying brother. Katia, you do know that Stefan has cancer, right? Said my aunt. I could only hear a whistle in my ear, and the word of cancer appeared in my head, surrounded by a deep cloud of fear. I was too young to understand what cancer meant, but watching my entire family sob over my brother's sickness for a month gave me an idea that whatever it meant, it was very bad. My sister and I joined my parents and my brother a month later in Houston. I had a tiny suitcase with some clothes and a teddy bear that my dad had given me. As we landed in Houston, I started crying over the thought of my new set of Play-Doh that I had to leave behind. Or at least that's what I like to make myself believe. Because truly I was crying because I was uncertain of everything. And because the God who I was once taught loved me unconditionally was killing my best friend. We arrived at the Texas Children's Hospital, a place so colorful that it seemed to me I was going to an amusement park. But all my hopes died when I saw my brother lying on a hospital bed, connected to multiple machines that were keeping him alive. I saw a bag full of blood, and a nurse told me that they were replacing his bad blood with good blood. I was disgusted at the whole situation, and especially at God. I remember thinking to myself, I could never serve a God that had cursed my family in such a way. But my heart full of sadness could only make me pray for healing. God, don't let this be happening. Please give it to me. Heal me. If my sin is cursing Stefan, send me to hell, but don't take him. Little did I know, things would only get worse. That morning in September, I went into Stefan's room and saw his bed sheets completely covered with his hair. I started vacuuming the sheets only to cover them with my tears. My heart was devastated, and just the thought of that moment sent shivers down my spine to this day. I had my first panic attack moments later. I could not breathe, I could not stand, I could not control it, and I didn't know why it was happening. I was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder many panic attacks later. PTSD is a mental disorder that affects individuals that have undergone a very traumatic experience. And it is as common among soldiers as it is among siblings of cancer patients. Everything horrified. I cried myself to sleep every single night for 10 months. In June 2010, we were able to go back home with a cancer-free brother. But the treatment kept going for 4 more years, in which my mother and brother would travel back to Houston for 1 week every 2 weeks. With my sister away in college and my dad working all day, I was left home alone every single day for 4 years. I thought that my brother surviving cancer would fix everything, but it was not the case. A day at school, a girl came to me and told me that my brother's cancer had returned and I had a major panic attack. She got really scared and told me it was only a joke and ran away, leaving me on the floor completely covered in my spit and tears. I was diagnosed with vitiligo, an autoimmune disease that causes patches of skin to lose their pigment, and it is caused by trauma or stress. By now, you might think that I just went completely nuts, but I didn't. It was so painful for me to watch myself in the mirror that my eyesight refocused. I no longer saw myself, my looks, my feelings. I focused on the one who had suffered through it all with me, God. I understood that just because it hurt, it did not mean it was a curse. Nothing had been a curse, not the leukemia, not the PTSD, or the vitiligo. It had all worked out perfectly to bring me back to God. It took him 3 hardships to get me at his feet. I was too blinded by fear to see God in leukemia, and my heart was too hardened by rancor to find God in PTSD. But I was wrecked and devastated enough to finally meet God in vitiligo. And these spots that I have in my hands, on my elbows, they're the badges and the sign of the covenant that I made with God the day that I surrendered my life at his feet. We have talked about my experience as a sister of a cancer survivor and how through hardship I was blessed to meet God. So now, today, I can affirm, as King David did in Psalms 119, that it was good for me to be afflicted so that I can learn God's decrees. The law of his mouth is more precious to me than thousands of pieces of silver and gold.